fans waited to see Predator Badlands for quote-unquote free, it's not, as theatrical release bombed. Well, Predator's Badlands is suddenly a streaming success. The film has become the #1 movie premiere on Hulu since director Dan Trachtenberg's movie Prey, pulling nearly 9 million views worldwide in its first 5 days. That's the good headline. The reality? Fans largely skipped it in theaters and waited to watch it at home. I don't think Prey didn't get a theatrical release, did it? I don't think so. But anyway, that's a lot of views. So, and then it looks like Badlands might even do better than that. So despite attempts to spin the theatrical run as a win, it wasn't. Predator Badlands flat out underperformed on the big screen. As Matt McCloyne has gone over many times, here are the final box office numbers. Domestic, 91 million, sorry. $91,083,631. International, $93,410,824. Worldwide, the combined $184,494,455. Yeah, that's dismal. It's dismal. Yeah. So after factoring in production costs, marketing, and distribution cuts, the movie likely lost close to $80 million theatrically, something the shill sites aren't bothering to report. But math is math, And the Hulu debut numbers tell the real story. Nearly 9 million views in 5 days. Whoa. Signals strong interest, just not at theatrical prices. Audiences were willing to watch Badlands, but they preferred doing it as part of their existing streaming subscription rather than buying tickets. Just like Prey. Again, did Prey, was it released theatrically? I don't know. Anyway, among the spin is that outlets are also labeling Badlands as a high mark for the 38-year-old franchise. The numbers say otherwise. Adjusted for inflation, several previous entries easily outperformed it. Alien vs. Predator, 2004. $437 million today when it made 100. Yeah, you see. Predator, the best, the only really good one. $278 million today. So there you go. Alien vs. Predator work with that thing was crap. But it made $130.3 million. That's $202 million today. The Predator, 2018, which I never saw. $160.5 million, $205 million today. Predators, I did see that one. $127.2 million, $187 million today. Well, that kind of lines up with, it's just a little bit above Badlands. So anyway, Badlands sits outside the top 5 in adjusted franchise earnings. It underperformed in raw dollars and when adjusted for inflation. What today's numbers reveal is that more fans watched it back then than showed up for Badlands. That's a fact. Well, yeah, but streaming wasn't a factor then for a lot of these. So, the bigger thing here is more of the loss for theatrical release. So unless it's some movie you just gotta see it on big screens, which a sci-fi spectacular would fit that rather nicely, you would think. But there just isn't enough excitement for it for people to show up. Plus, people expected it to be woke and stuff. It really wasn't. But they expected it. So, whoops. That kind of thing probably hurt it too. But ultimately, it's sad because you cannot replace the theatrical experience. It's unique unto itself. I mean, nobody has a screen that big. Well, okay, some really rich people do, I'm sure. But most people don't. I don't. You don't. So, you can't really replace that. in your home, certainly not on your phone. I mean, the only reason to watch a movie on your phone is because you absolutely have to. Like you're going to be stuck at the waiting room at the doctor's office or whatever. Stuff like that. But, or you're on the plane or a bus, But other than that, it's not a good way. Certainly not something, it's like a quiet film or something. It's not that bad. But for something like this, you got to see it on a big screen. Anyway, there's no way to honestly frame that as a franchise peak. The fact no sequel has been announced simply proves that. Yeah, they really... But with the streaming numbers doing so well, they'll pivot to more streaming. So there's probably a future for Predator that way. Yeah. And I don't know, do these toys sell? Because then because it's still, Alien Earth looks really expensive. I'm sure it was. But does it make its money back? Do Alien toys sell? That would be the only way, because just subscriptions alone, the basic business model so far for streaming is that people sign up for whatever and then forget they're subscribed. And then as soon as they suddenly realize they're still subscribed, like, whoa, I haven't watched this thing in months. I need to cut that. And they do. And then you're like, oh, damn it, lost another one. I don't know that I've never heard any of them say that, a certain show or movie really increased subscriptions that month, to where it's, significant. Because if it's just the audience you already have, whether you put the Alien movie on streaming or not, you get the same money for what you already have. So merchandise would be the only thing. And the sci-fi adventure movies and shows, well, they can offer that. So if there's still a market for people wanting to buy this plastic crap, then you can make up the money there, which traditionally was the main thing. Star Wars taught everybody that. You make more money off of the toys than the movie and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if that continues to this day. Not recently with, Star Wars and the like, but so yeah, you could do your streaming shows and or movies and, the toys sell. So maybe, I don't know. What the Hulu debut proves is something the franchise may need to accept. Just as Matt McCloin said, Predator performs better on streaming. And this might be true for everything else. There's exceptions here and there, but that seems to be getting more and more less as time goes by, because the studios trained people to get used to streaming, and they didn't think of, well, how do you make the money that they were making before out of that system? There's no physical media. You're killing the theaters. And then, the massive piracy and stuff. Good luck. I don't know. Anyway, Prey is said to be a streaming hit. Now, Badlands performs better on Hulu after failing theatrically. The pattern is clear. Audiences will show up for Disney Predator, just not in theaters. At this point, the franchise seems more at home as a streaming event where it's effectively watched for free. Well, that's not really free. Of course, I'm sure it's pirated, so there's that too. Under subscription rather than as a theatrical tentpole. This is more of a story about theaters, I'm afraid, than just the Predator franchise. There's also currently no Badlands sequel or a new Predator movie in development at Disney. Given the theatrical losses, that's not surprising. If the franchise continues, it may be as a streaming first property. Yeah, I think that's probably likely. But then again, they know the metrics better than anyone. And so, hey, look, it's getting a lot of, yeah, I know, but it's the audience we had anyway. So they're interested. You want to keep them, but it's going to have to be done much cheaper. And, AI and stuff, they might be able to cut corners that way. And doesn't necessarily have to be so expensive. But I'm afraid movies are dying, So, yeah, streaming only. So director Dan Trachtenberg also recently signed a first-look deal with Paramount. Yeah, he got the word that all the plans they had for Predator franchise, which he had been doing, he did Prey and all that, was, that's not happening. So Predator versus Aliens and all that was in the works, and they were teasing it, and certainly Badlands teased it up the hilt. I mean, you had Weyland-Yutani in it and all that. That's, at the very least, is on hold. So any crossover wouldn't be a film. It would just be a a streaming series and or streaming only movie. So, anyway, the film was all right. I didn't hate it. It had some okay stuff in it. I expected it to be far worse than it was, but then that's another factor here is the marketing was not all that well. It wasn't that good. And but watching it, you thought, oh, the girl boss is going to take over. Not really. So that's another factor to consider. But nevertheless, there we are. Predator does better on Hulu, but it's not necessarily good news overall. I mean, Predator can survive there, apparently. But the theater model looks to be doomed.